Welcome back to the Two Pointers Podcast. I'm Trevor Everett. We're going to jump into instant reaction. This one is instant. It is 11:42 Eastern Standard Time. This was probably one of the most interesting games so far of the series, of course. We've obviously had a buzzer beater and a comeback. We've had game 3 I thought was really interesting and close and down the stretch. And ultimately, this one I feel like it was jockeying position back and forth a couple of different times. We'll jump into all of that. That being said, we're not going to rush out the door, with Chuck and Kenny and Shaq and start timing 12:02, 12:08, whatever. But let's be real. It's almost midnight Eastern and we had a great game. Let's talk about it. So before we jump into it, really any initial thoughts out the gate? 2-2.
Two things quick. I mean, home court finally back in the hands of the Thunder. Many people didn't expect it to ever change hands, myself included, even with my Thunder in 6 prediction. And then I told you right before we hit record, you could tell who had played in one of finals from watching tonight's game, and Siakam and Caruso. And I'm not going to slight Thomas Bryant like Richard Jefferson did and say the two guys, but the two that played roles tonight were excellent. Siakam 4 steals in the first quarter. Anytime you're on a list with you and LeBron, you're doing something right. So Caruso, another 20-point game, had 0 all season, 2 in 4 finals games. Not a coincidence that Oklahoma City has won both of those games either. So whatever his contract is, it's not enough. And the fact that it's not a 1-year stopping by kind of thing, the fact that we locked him in for a couple years right now is looking like one of the better Presti decisions of the past 12 months. And there's plenty to choose from. But, I mean, what a game. It's so much better when, as a biased fan, your team wins games like this. Because you could argue that the game 1 in this game should have been won by the other team. But, I mean, man, we're getting to game 6, Trevor. I couldn't be happier. This isn't exactly the path I would have chose to get there. But, down the stretch, they did one more TV promo of game 6 Thursday, if necessary. And that just stuck in my head. And I was like, could we be watching the second to last game of the entire season? And it very much looked like we could have been. But Shea, to his credit, I don't know if Stephen A. Smith caught it. I don't know how good his solitaire game was at the moment when down the stretch Shea took over and reminded the world.
I had that down for the end. I had that down for all right, we've got about 15 minutes left to fill. And
I'm going to expand on that later because it's ridiculous. But Shea showed the world why he won the MVP over the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic. Showed the world why he beat the best player in the world in a 7-game series. He just took over. We've been waiting for it. I say we. The world had been watching, waiting, expecting, demanding this from Shea. It played a big part in my personal shock over the end of game 1 because that is Shea's time to shine. He doesn't have a clutch player of the year award to his name, but he is Oklahoma City's guy, specifically the free throw shooting, hovering around 90%. Big sample size of the regular season as well as the postseason, and we saw it tonight just how crucial that was. And I, as a basketball fan, I don't love 2 away from the ball, 1-shot technicals in 7 seconds. Scott Foster had himself a night. I'll leave it there. But I think that those are so clutch and so crucial. And you see what happens when guys get to the line in spots like this and they're not ready for it. Dort split a pair. Mathurin went 1 for 4 coming into that sequence, shooting 89% from the free throw line. Now, he's not shooting 10 free throws a night, but still, the math did not come out to the pressure of that moment and the gravity of those free throws. It killed any chance of a Thunder rally in game 3, and it ultimately it sunk the Pacers tonight.
I want to go back to the first quarter. We talked after game 3 the next day. Time to absorb it. don't think that's bad for today. I think especially now that the series is basically 0-0 again. I want to go back early. We talk about moments that kind of tell the story of the game, or what we think is going to tell the story of the game, or hypothetically getting a text in the first minute of the fourth quarter in the middle of game 3. All right, we'll do the pod tomorrow. Like those kind of things are going to happen, and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. This was my first 4 notes. I'm just going to go down the list. Caruso checks in at 6:57. He converts an and one on his first possession. His next possession, he turns it over on a behind the back pass to Hartenstein. And I immediately was like, all right, don't know how this Alex Caruso game is going to go, knowing he's going to play whatever he's going to end up playing. I'm sure he played plenty of minutes. But yeah, he played 30 again. So no surprise there. Okay. And then moving through that quarter, Indiana was on their first 9 field goals, they were assisted on 8 of them. And so I immediately knowing, and they never really went up huge in the first quarter. You should never judge a game by the first quarter. I'm not going to lie. The vibes were bad. They were bad around that point of the first quarter because of those 2 things, because of, okay, immediately the guy that, and I know it was 2 plays, but like immediately having Alex Caruso and a couple of spots, and you could tell that they were letting him kind of do whatever he was going to do. And I immediately was like, if that's Indiana's game plan, they're just going to let him, let him beat us kind of thing. I was a little like, okay, that's something to keep an eye on. And then Indiana, I mean, literally could not miss in the first half. It was, I mean, they couldn't miss, period. But when you assist on 8 of those, it just speaks to like how much better their ball movement's been. It speaks to how much better their offense has been just from a creation standpoint. And very early on, that was the case. And I immediately, again, the panic meter was definitely not 0 by any means at that point. And look, I'm not a fan. Obviously, I'm sure you were feeling some of the same things in the first quarter. But Indiana, the home crowd, all those factors combined, at least going back early here, it's an impressive comeback. I was going to get to this later, but I'll just lay it out. I mean, that final 2 minutes of defense is a championship clinching level, whatever you want to call it, for Oklahoma City. That's exactly what they needed to do, and that's exactly what they did. Again, coming a long way from where we were in the first quarter, when I really was, again, panic button. Probably, we're getting closer to 4 than we are to 10, but it was still rising, and it was still 2 things that were very concerning that I think they overcame really well. I think they overcame it really well. They stayed in it. They fought. They seemed dead in the water a couple of times. They seemed tired, just dead tired a couple of times. And then just for them to play the third quarter the way they did, but be more aggressive, for them to be forced into it a little bit, but also to succeed in that third quarter and kind of keep the game manageable, that was a championship level win. No doubt.
I mean, if you don't defend to this level with this intensity, you don't overcome 3 for 17 from 3.
Yeah, I was wondering how fast that was coming up. I was wondering if it was going to make it to the 10-minute mark, and it did not. So
no, that was that was really bad.
Good teams don't come back from that. Only great teams do. Let me be abundantly clear about that.
Could not agree more. And it still took every bit of greatness from this Oklahoma City team that we've really been looking for the most part of, now over halfway done in the series. We're going to play at least 2 more games here. So I just really think that, just weathering the storm over and over again, understanding that you're going to take punches, this home crowd, these guys, McConnell and Toppin and Neesmith until he fouled out, which I thought was a massive swing in the game just because of what he brings on defense and as an agitator and as well from the 3-point line. He essentially iced the last game from 3
to 9 rebounds too. So I think that really changed the final couple of minutes there.
Oh, he was everywhere. And so to have that level of production, specific to this game and, how much elevated that is relative to what his perceived role is on the team, I think that was huge. I don't know if the outcome swings with him in the game, but I certainly felt at ease when I saw him fouled out, just because of as much respect as I could possibly gain for a guy in 4 games. It's there. And he's not the only one, but obviously, thankfully he was the only one that fouled out, much to the dismay of Scott Foster. But free throws and threes. Shea and J-Dub 21 for 21 from the free throw There were a lot of free throws in this game. They flashed a graphic very, very late in the game, and I thought for a second it was 3-pointers just because of the volume. But then I saw that the Thunder had 2 numbers by their makes, so I figured that was not the 3-pointers.
34-38 is crazy.
And 25 of 33 for Indy, and and 3 of the 8 misses were from Benedict Mathurin in a spot. To be quite honest, you really can't expect him to go 4 for 4 there, but 2 for 4. I mean, like I said last podcast, this is not me dictating what these guys should do. Me and you can both agree these are 1% of the 1% athletes in the entire world playing a game that less than 500 people can play at this level. It's impossible to simulate that headspace and that pressure and that environment, but these guys set expectations for themselves. And when they show that you're shooting 89% from the free throw line in the playoffs, that almost sets you up for failure at that point, because the math says you should technically make all 4 of those. Because 3 for 4 would be below expectations. But I feel for Mathurin. He's had a great series. I think he's been instrumental in the fact that this is 2-2. As disappointed as Indy might be right now, thinking they should be up 3-1. I don't expect them to roll over. I don't think this is I don't think this game is going to be, the Pacers' last gasp here in the series. We'll hear from them early and often in Game 5, even back in OKC, and certainly with a guaranteed return trip to Indy with someone up 3-2. I think we're going to see the absolute emptying of the gas tank from both of these teams. It's just going to be a question of elite execution. If these games keep coming down like this, and OKC kind of pulled away in Game 2, and aside from that, it has been crunch time. Someone needs a bucket. Someone needs 2 free throws. Who are you going to get? And Shea came through in both respects today. I think he had a 9-0 or 7-0 personal run to bring OKC back and give them the 1-point lead that turned into 3 and 5 and 7. And eventually the Pacers ran out of clock, which is about, the only way you beat them is when the clock hits quadruple zeros. Shea hit the free throw to go up 7 with 7 seconds left. And I still was like, I am not looking at anything. I'm not looking at the link you sent me. I'm not doing anything.
They're a Grim Reaper team. I've always said it. They just, that they're standing over your shoulder, and but you don't want to look.
And a great display of, I don't know if the Thunder were like, hey, let's get every inbounds pass tipped the last 3 minutes of the game. I did ask for
I think that was just great defense is all that was.
It was excellent all-ball defense.
I'm not sure I blame that on OKC, but you do that and you're up 3-2, or final minute of a Game 7. You can't, absolutely can't do that if you're trying to win a championship. So stuff they got to work out before then.
Yeah, and I forget. I think it was RJ on the broadcast mentioned just tentativeness, which I would prefer over the carelessness that we saw a bit throughout the game today. There was a Grayson lob to Hartenstein that was 2 feet lower than what it probably should have been.
The Caruso second pass of his
right.
guy I mentioned behind the back in traffic with an Indiana guy standing on Hartenstein's hip. I was like,
exactly.
Okay, what are we doing?
Yeah, turnovers were an issue, but not the death knell tonight. I honestly can't believe they won this game. This is the exact script of the Denver series.
I can. I can just. It's simple, and I'm not gonna. I don't want to victory lap this, but it's It's rotation regression. It's simple rotation regression. The Pacers don't have a single player positive plus minus. Obi Toppin 17 was an empty 17. He was minus 15 on the game.
Really, not even Siakam. That's wow.
Well, no, they don't have a single bench guy.
I'm sorry. Okay,
Siakam was plus 7. He was still good. He had 20. But the point being is he was 6 of 15. Miles 3 of 10 again. It felt like Miles was going to be way better. I thought I talked us right into that one. I was like, well, Miles is going to be Miles, and he's going to have a great offensive game right after saying he's got a bad one. He went 3 for 10, and so But
Some
no,
of the threes he took.
it's
Jeez.
simple. It's simple. He was the 0 for 6 big this time. He was the 0 for 6, which is kind of crazy that they just swapped it. Him and then what did
That's
check
funny.
out this game? Let's see. 0 for
I don't
2.
think he made one either. Yeah.
He had a couple.
That's
He had a
weird.
2 foot on the line, I think, to open the game. But
Hmm.
the point though, it's simple bench regression. It's rotation regression. Let's use our alliteration here. Even with the crowd, even with I think I don't really care particularly about the extra day at this point in a final series with both younger teams. These are bench guys ultimately. Like I don't think that has anything to do with it. And I think Mark may have lucked into that a little bit. Going to the 2 bigs, I do like though. I know we kind of talked about was it possible? We kind of threw it around, but
Right.
I'm not sure the adjustment was, well, okay, we're going to get lucky with the fact that their 4 bench guys are going to have, basically all off nights. And I would be included in that. But I think playing the 2 bigs early, I think it forced Indiana to keep some of their guys on a little longer and really think about how they were going to do rotations. I think that may have been the advantage early, despite how the game was playing out. It also allowed OKC to only go small when they really needed to. They played the bench played 18 from Kaysen. Kenrich came home with 11. But other than Alex Caruso, like we expected, it was all guys filling in spots that they just needed to fill throughout,
Right.
to kind of mitigate the Shea minutes. And at the end of the day, like this Pacers bench is really good. Like I'm not denying that in any way. I just think we were going to kind of come back to earth a little here.
Right.
And we're going to call game 3 the TJ McConnell game till the end of time. But those kind of guys don't win you series; they win you games. And ultimately,
That's a
Alex
good point.
Caruso is a
Yeah.
series winner, and that's why I think that he's been so impactful. I think he's a guy talking about knowing who's been in the finals before. Like you mentioned, Siakam was kind of who you were alluding to there. Caruso is also another guy that I think just knows
Oh, him too.
be
Yeah.
100% chest out the entire time, knows exactly where to be, even if he's making small mistakes. I'm there to defend him on that. I'm not there to defend him on that, but I mean, again, these bench guys, it was a regression thing. And your point about Indiana, kind of laying it all out there for game 5, really in general, the rest of the series, they actually cut Halliburton walking off the floor. And and I quote, he either said, I couldn't get the exact thing, my closed captions wouldn't catch it. He either said, we got to win on the road, we all right, or we gonna win on the road, we all right. Either way, they're already thinking about game 5. They're already ready to go.
Mhm.
I'm not expecting anything less because let's be honest, this is still a really young team. This is still a really just well put together oiled machine for how just kind of undervalued they've been most of the season until they really turned it around in March. And obviously when you have a guy like Halliburton that leads the charge like that, they're not going to roll over nicely. So game 5 is going to be an absolute. I mean, obviously we're not going to get Foster back to back, which is just so funny that he comes in for game 4 and then a series it's tied and goes extended, which is just typical Scott Foster stuff. But I actually think he was pretty good tonight, all things considered. I know there's a couple of choice texts about him, but like I don't think this was a C- game for Scott Foster. I'll just say that.
No, I don't. It was just he seemed just omnipresent for periods of the game.
It's kind of fun. It's like an extra wrinkle you have to think about. Not for you, but fun for me. I
No,
was like, okay,
it was
like I know
terrible for
he's
me.
there.
When
Hey,
he
at
gave
least Chris
Shea,
Paul's on your team. That would have changed everything. So, for the worse, apparently. But
the Pacers would have closed the series tonight if Chris Paul's on our team. Because he would have got game 2 somehow. We'd have lost that game 2. But no, I mean, I think, like you said,
throw a lot at you there. Sorry.
I mean, the championship experience shined through tonight. We saw it with Siakam. We certainly saw it with Caruso. And if you're going to play him 30 minutes, you're going to get those mistakes mixed in with the 20 points, with the rebounds, with the 5 steals. As I pull up the box score here, that is incredible. It kind of hit me throughout the early afternoon today, just starting to mentally think about like what I expected from the Thunder tonight and what I thought we would do. It just kind of hit me like it makes too much sense for them to not go back to the 2 bigs to start with, and they did. And they put Hartenstein back in the starting 5, and early they didn't take the early advantage they have throughout the series. I thought it was interesting that the one time they think, okay, we're going back to the Thunder stuff. We're not going to worry about what Indy does. We're not going to react to what Indy does. We're going to play Thunder basketball and play what we want to play. And Indy led early, and I thought that was interesting because you think, you're going to be assertive. You're going to go out there and put your vibe out there, and you got to beat that. We're not going to worry about what you're going to do. And Dort hit a big three towards the end of the first quarter when the broadcast, I think, flickered out for a little bit.
That happened for you too? Okay, I thought I was.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I was wondering if it was just me or not, but I wasn't
Okay.
on Twitter much during the game. But
I can tell you who was.
yeah. So I mean, huge three from Dort. I'm looking at the box score now. Only one he hit, but I think that was a big part of kind of that rolling with the punches, treading water, staying within striking distance. I think they got up 10 at one point and it never got larger than that. And that was just massive because he's one of those guys that's been there the longest of this group and has been through the first round exits and the playoff exit or the play-in exits and the not qualifying for anything seasons. And to have him be the defensive just mastermind that he is, to have buckets like that, especially from three, because threes are still more than two. Even if you look at tonight, you're like, how in the world didn't the Pacers lose this game? And we said it last time around. I mean, a lot of times the best team wins the series, and a lot of times the best team has the best player in the series, and that kind of is how that ball starts rolling downhill. And we saw Shea late in this game again just take over. He was not great early. He really struggled to get going. I mean, all the credit in the world to Nimhard and everybody else that was switched on to him and kind of held him in check and did what you could. That needs to be 30 seconds of a still image on First Take tomorrow. Stephen A. Smith playing solitaire during the NBA Finals is...
Took me a while to get the image up, so it was very out of context by that point, but neither here nor there.
He spends his day denigrating superstars in the NBA, cheapening the product, making it sound like the sport is not nearly what it actually amounts to if you watch these games. And he drives people away from it, and he pushes the discourse forward of this league is now a lesser product and is not as good as it once was. And the league that our fathers and older brothers and uncles watched is far superior. And now we just have a bunch of lazy, fat superstars who want money and not greatness and will never catch Michael Jordan. To then sit in a seat that probably cost 5 figures, wherever they were, and play solitaire on your damn phone. I don't care if this was during a timeout.
There were people that took pictures during the game and like proved that it was during game action.
That's unbelievable to me. If I'm Giannis, he's a Twitter guy, that would be my profile picture from now until the nukes drop in World War III, which may be soon. But if I'm going to be a Twitter troll, that's my profile picture. Like, you're going to talk trash about me and my greatness and my, like, my work ethic and my will to win. There was a segment people had put next to that about, will Giannis be great if he doesn't win another title? Yes. Asked and answered. Check the boxes. Done.
He's a top 75 player right now. He probably is without a title, but
he's been a top 75 player for a long time.
I was just rounding up to be polite.
Oh, he's obviously in the top half of the top 75, but yeah, I see your point. But yeah, that's unacceptable. I'm sorry. If you're getting paid 8 figures a year to talk about a game and you can't be bothered to stay off solitaire for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, in what's being billed as the best arena in the NBA, and after watching 2 finals games there, I don't have much of an argument.
The 2 best arenas are playing in this series, which is amazing.
Right.
It's really good for arena propaganda here.
I think it's excellent. I think the construction of the field house and kind of where the fans sit in proximity to the court and kind of how the sound echoes and the roars are caught.
It's built for basketball. It's the only arena in the NBA that's built for basketball. I mean, you can call the wall and the dome whatever you want.
That's different.
But this is like truly, this is built for basketball, and that's the coolest thing about it.
I mean, in the state considered to be the pantheon of the sport in Indiana. I mean, where better to have that?
I'm gonna hold my opinion.
I mean, yeah,
I may have done 5 blogs about that. So the thing that I'm actually really like, again, talk about most of the last 10, 15 minutes of all these pods are always intentionally, hey, how can Indiana do this, right? It's always shifting the thought, okay, how can this series extend other than having Scott Foster around? I tried to say that. It's so serious, too. I tried to just keep that. Like, I tried to just do it, and you just started laughing, and I couldn't finish it. That was so bad. I wanted to get that one out. Solid, clean, 10 out of 10. Couldn't. Anyway, look, the Chet game hasn't happened yet, right? The
No.
ceiling, the offensive break through the ceiling, proverbial game has not happened yet. And the reason I think it's coming, and obviously you'd like it to come in game 5 and not in game 7, of course, hypothetically, is the fact that he's not afraid to attack Turner, at least early. I didn't pay attention to it as much in the second half because there's just a lot going on at that point. But I was really paying attention. Like, again, early, he was just, I hate to keep calling back to some of the first things I wrote down, but he just wasn't afraid of Turner. And obviously Turner gets better defensively as games goes on, which is, I think, one of his most unique traits. After we already did a 15-minute Miles Turner legacy, we'll do that again. But the point being is, like, whether that's a timing of a game thing or not, maybe that's confidence with the second big there, knowing that you have some weak side help for rebounding if you miss it. Whatever the reason is, Chet was going at Turner most of the first quarter. And I wonder if one of these games, I mean, granted, he's your third, maybe fourth option, depending on the night. Lately, he's been fourth.
Right.
And you're not expecting him to be the guy like that wins you game 6, 7, whatever in a situation, in the fourth quarter. But I know he can do that. I know he has it in him, even if it's making a big three in the corner, which he hasn't really done. Even if it's, taking a lob dunk, whatever. I just think there's been conversations about, like, Drew Hanlon's his trainer, and Chet's only scratching the surface. I've heard all that stuff, but I truly believe it just from seeing what he's done to, albeit one of the most elite defenders, especially at the big position in the NBA this year, and Turner. And so the fact that he's not afraid of going at him, I get you can be not afraid, you can be a bulldog and still not bite, but he's not afraid to go at him, and it's been working in some of those spots. I just wonder if that final game's coming, that push from him where, he's going to be dangerous. Maybe if Turner gets in foul trouble and he takes advantage of Thomas Bryant, because, like, they're afraid to play Thomas Bryant now. Like, they realize, like, he's not
in tonight. I don't remember him seeing him.
He did not. He was a DMP. So that's my point. Is like,
yeah,
they know that those minutes aren't coming, and so take advantage of anything you get with Toppin on the floor, or really any of those rotations without Turner.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think that game could be coming, and I think it could be coming very, 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 very soon in Game 5. I'm also 4 for 4 on predictions, so let's just keep that what it is for what it's worth.
I think that's coming. I think his demeanor towards Turner initially, I think, set the tone for the entire team of, like,
yes,
1,000%. Yes, we lost in this building. Yes, our season's on the line, but we're not going to play timid. We're not going to play any different we have all year. We're going to play the same way that, I mean, it didn't happen the same way, but, I mean, they beat this team by 30. They beat them again. They lost to one Eastern Conference team the entire regular season. And so I think that was huge from, again, a third-year player who has only played about half the games he could have, missing an entire season, missing half a season this year. I thought it was incredible how ahead he is in that aspect of, usually takes years to get that out of those guys and develop that leadership and develop that just intrinsic motivation to go out there and set the tone as, to your point, not the first option, not the second option. On some nights, not the third option offensively. And I think if we have a Chet Holmgren game, it's a lot more likely to look like Miles Turner late in game 3 than Shea late tonight. Because if we're giving the ball to Chet with 40 seconds left, I'm thinking people fouled out, or there was like Malice at the Palace part 2 or something, because something's wrong. But if he's a defensive anchor, he's stopping, say, Halliburton driving to the rim, or Nembhard penetrating, contesting those mid-ranges that he loves and hit some tonight that were big. I think his version of, the blank game is going to be defensively. That's not as sexy, and they don't put that on the bottom line, and they don't necessarily talk about it on the A block of First Take. That won't get you on Scott Van Pelt after the game either, but I think it will win you a game. And at this point, with only 2 or 3 games left, if not now, when? We're not going to get it if we don't get it soon. Um, and I think back home for a team this young and a team that's still, I think as a whole, scratching the surface of what they can do. I mean, second apron be damned right now. If you win a championship, that tax bill looks a whole lot better. Um, and so I think they have, again, reasserted themselves as the better team. It took way too long and they messed around way too much. But we finally got Shea making the case for him being the second best player in the world, him being the MVP. And, some of the free throw stuff, I thought there was another similar to that Nembhard play in game 3 that he got the call. And obviously he picked up 2 free throws with just a 1 in a million lane violation, adjacent rarity wise, just odd thing you see called. Again, Scott Foster making sure he got plenty of TV time tonight. But I thought, if that's how they have to win a game, and I have to go on Twitter and look at free throw merchant and all that stuff, you can add NBA champion to the end of it if he keeps doing this. So, but I think honestly, the thing that impressed me the most out of everything tonight was Caruso getting abused again. Just a lazy shoulder check from Toppin, and Hartenstein went right at him. Had nothing in mind to just let that go, and he's not worried about a tech. I think it was a double technical, which is so stupid. But speaking
Yeah,
of
I
setting
texted you and
that
said I
really good.
apologize for 10 minutes on that call, but I'm honestly over it. And at this point, I just come to expect it now.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think that was, I think the Neesmith foul was more of a flagrant because he was airborne back to him, but he's defenseless. And this
Yeah,
was
we
just
established
Toppin
the horse collar thing already. Like, it's ridiculous.
right.
I,
I think,
I think I understand. I got further and further we got away from it. Hardenstein gets that tech by way of association. But for him to not make any
sure.
physical contact or any physical force in any direction or
Right.
top,
Like,
that
what
was
did
the
he
part I was
possibly
like,
say?
yeah,
What did he say?
it's not
Like,
about
what are we
saying
doing?
it's legit just association in that moment and handling that, calling it both and get going. And
I think it's a
that's
cop
credit to
out.
Foster for getting that done. Like to
Yeah.
actually just make the call, be done with it, kind of put his foot down, which he's very good at doing, and moving on and being like, all right,
Right. To defend Foster, like you make that a one-off by doing that.
correct. And it
Because you
never
can't
happened
have
again.
right. And you can't, I mean, they baseball fought like another time after that. But I mean, it was with Siakam and J Dub. But I think that, yeah, to your point, didn't happen again. So as much as that might look like an easy way out for the officials, it does obviously raise the issue of someone's getting ejected if you do this again. So I thought that was actually, in hindsight, not the worst outcome in the world. Man, I still all the things just watching the last 5 minutes of this game and how that journey progressed from a slim deficit to a 1 point lead via Shea and just having him put the team on his back and carry them all the way to a 2-2 series. Headed back home for a home game 5. We're guaranteed to head back to Indy for a game 6, and it's a guaranteed closeout game. We're guaranteed one. We may very well get a second one. I really hope not. I would love the Thunder to pick up these last 2.
The monkey's off the back, though. You've now won on the road, right? Like both teams
Right.
know that they can go into the other building and get it done, and that's what makes Game 6 possibly, and now officially, more exciting is because somebody knows that they can do it.
Right. Somebody's 4 quarters away. If these games keep coming down to the wire like they have 3 out of 4 times here, somebody's going to be like 12 minutes away, 6 minutes away, 2 minutes away. I don't have an Apple Watch. I'm not going to buy one because it would probably send EMS to my residence if I was wearing one watching these games. So I'm going to hold off on that for right now because I just sitting on my couch by myself in complete silence, just watching the game, which I'm a bad content fan. I can't be near people. Like I need to just be away from the world watching these games. One, because I won't go through all my teams. They don't play for titles ever. So this is rare air. And I'm just not built. I don't know how Boston fans do it. Although that may not be a concern for a little while, but I think that just sitting there again. I've if you guys have listened to 15 minutes of anything I've ever been on, I'm a diehard Thunder fan. Like it is insane the things that go through my head. I mean, I was telling Trevor before we jumped on, I'm thinking like, all right, Chet or J Dub, which one are we trading for Giannis? We're down, we're down 10. I'm like, all right, what are we gonna do?
Well, I answered the last question I had for us. When they when they went up 9 with 3:28 in the third, how big did that lead actually feel?
It felt like 70.
I felt the same way. I was sitting there and I was like, you know, like championship teams win this kind of game. They did.
I
I wasn't
said that
wrong.
to the two biggest Thunder fans I know. I said when they went to commercial for the 89th time with 3:52 left, I said we're going to find out in the next 3:52 if the
If they're a
Thunder
real
are
team or not.
supposed to win this title.
Correct.
Because if they are, they're going to win this game, and if they're not, they're going to lose this game. And we likely come back for a game 6, and that's Larry O'Brien going up in Indy for the home team. But that pinhole of light at the end of the tunnel has now grown very, very large, and I think that we're halfway there. This team has never, as the Thunder, been 2 games from a title. Hasn't happened. They've been 3 games away, and they've been 5 games away. They have never been 2 games away. And so I try to just appreciate that, because in the chaos of game 1 and winning game 2, all I thought after game 2 was like, oh, well, it's 1-1. Like, we still underperformed. We still, self-inflicted uphill climb here. And I had to just stop myself and think, they have not won a finals game since the iPhones were on like the 3GS. Like, this is insane for me. So I really took a second tonight to be like, all right, yes, it took 20 to 25 minutes off of my lifespan, but that is the 3rd finals victory in the history of this franchise. Like, that cannot be understated. As good as this team looks, as great as this roster is, as high as the bar was set, they were minus 700 favorites to win the series. I hated every second of that.
Yeah, even I'll admit that's really high.
Like, that's absurd. Not only is that a huge disservice to Indy and how good I really thought they were, and saying that it would be Thunder in 6. I don't think me or you would have gotten the order right, even if we had been told it was 2-2 after 4 games. That's just not how you picture the pendulum swinging.
No, I thought it would have been both home games. Like, I would be like, all right, well, we head back to game 5 with
exactly.
both home games won, and whatever.
And I mean,
Call it a wash.
Last allusion I'll make to Las Vegas. This is the first road game the
I have
Thunder
one
covered
more.
the spread.
It's fine.
The entire playoffs. First road spread, the entire playoffs they've covered. Closed minus 6.5 last I saw. I can barely watch these games. Wow. I do not bet on these games. So sorry to Gino and Bet Openly. I do not use the site for these games. I can't do it. But first road spread. And they really, I forget
how close they've been, though. I don't blame you for not, like, it's like clearly the series is not minus 700 to a favorite.
I haven't placed a Thunder game bet since
March, probably.
No, it was I was taking unders in the Denver series. I'm trying to think the last time I actually bet on like the Thunder, though. It was
if you don't count the first quarter under you mentioned in game 2.
See that, like that kind of thing. Like, that was me saying finals nervous, points low. Like, that was a robot bet.
It's very true. I have a game I want to play when you're done.
Let's do it.
And you're very familiar with this game by now. We're going to play the game of if you can't take minus 525 for finals MVP per Shea, who would you take right now? Because I'll tell you right now, it's only a real question because Jalen's actually really turned it on. I did 27 tonight, of course. So,
don't tell me who's 2, 3, 4 in odds. I'm gonna try and guess. Do you have it pulled up?
I do. I'm actually using DraftKings because right now FanDuel either is scrambling to put other names on the board. They only have 3 guys on the board, so I'm not going to play the FanDuel odds tonight. Yeah,
that's them playing scared.
Yeah, it's the 3 names you expect. I'm just curious for you.
I would assume Jalen's second in odds.
No.
Is it a Thunder guy?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, it's Halliburton then.
All right, who would be third?
Siakam or Jalen Williams, one of the two.
Siakam and
Probably
then
Jalen.
Siakam and then Jalen. Jalen's plus 2,800.
Wow. He's not winning, but I mean, yeah.
He's not, but like, let's be
I would
honest,
take
he's better than that. Like, he's played
no.
incredible last two games, and he has a chance to have a better game than Shea at home to go up 3-2 in a series.
That's a lasting image for voters. All
That's like
9 of them.
that's Jalen Brown all over again. I'm telling you, like,
I was words out of my mouth. Yeah.
so playing this game now, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it's not really like, okay,
Is Caruso listed? Like he's never ever going to win.
plus 15,000. Yeah, he's the next guy after Jalen. Yeah.
Okay, so he's fifth. All right.
He's fifth. He's got 6. Yeah, Nemhard 7th, Turner 8th, and Neesmith 9th.
Okay. Not to get on like the deserves it soapbox. Like I realized that he's not going to win the award. If you're asking me who should win it, save for Shea, it's Caruso. That's quick for me. Just relative to what we expected from a player, what we got from a player, and the impact on games of that production. I said it earlier. Caruso has 2 20-point games in the finals. The Thunder are 2-0 in those games. And you could argue he was as instrumental as Shea in game 1. Now, game 2, I would obviously lean towards Shea with the late game and the takeover and all of that. But I think in game 2, him in tandem with Aaron Wiggins, who has since, speaking of rotation regression, that has occurred with him as well. He's come a long way from the podium game in game 2. But I think that I would honestly lean Caruso. Now, obviously, like you said, the odds reflect a very different narrative and outcome. But if you're asking me, odds out the window, doesn't matter. Shea's off the table. 3 or 4 games, I'm giving it to Caruso.
I don't think you're wrong.
That can change. That likely, I hope to God, will change because that means Chet or Jalen has had an awakening, especially for Chet. Because again, no one's going to mention he had 15 rebounds tomorrow. No one.
Honestly, until you just said that, I did not know that.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at this thing for 40 minutes. I did give Alex Caruso some credit. If we were to do an all finals first team, say the finals was over right now, that Thunder win, whatever, right? Say this was the series over right now.
Mm-hmm.
All finals first team, it would be Shea.
Yep.
Jalen.
Yep.
I'm just going to go through a unanimous. Let's figure it out together.
Right.
Nemhard, I would put on there third.
I would, yeah.
Is it as simple as Tyrese and Caruso? Is that literally the 5?
I don't have a strong argument against that at all.
Turner combining for 6 blocks in the last 2 games really makes me question if that's the right decision. But he's been such a non-factor offensively.
Yeah. That's the issue. Is you could go Dort, but then the offense, yeah.
I forgot to mention this earlier when you said Dort, though. I actually am glad you said that. He's one guy that he used to be a meme offensively. Like it used to be like like you couldn't even put the guy in the corner.
He averaged like 17 points a game when the
I'm
Thunder were
in the years ago. It was a guy that
yeah.
It was a guy that we knew was a good defensive player coming up, but he kept sticking around the rotation on the bad teams, and it was really interesting. Yeah. And I always thought that was interesting for him. For this to be his first defensive first team breakthrough season, obviously that comes correlating to the wins and the totals, but
sure.
It was a guy that always stuck around, and I always noticed that. And I'm like, a franchise building a team like that doesn't keep a guy like that around if he's not a good offensive player, or they don't believe he's going to develop into one. And obviously, he went 3 for 3 a couple times in this playoffs and recently, 4 for 4 from 3, whatever. But he's someone that I'm always, no matter which side of the ball they're on, I always know he's on the floor, which is really interesting. It's really interesting for a guy of that. He's probably the 5th, 6th, 7th, depending on the day option. But defensively, he's the second best player on the team, arguably. And so,
you notice the screens they set every single time they cross half court.
Just in general, like his presence, if he's in a corner, Indiana's definitely thinking about him. which makes me think about him because I noticed that. And so it's just interesting. It's a thought I had earlier and I never shared it. I just was like, he's got to get some fair credit for just how fun he's really been. And I feel like we always talk about the victor in these games and we spend more time on them, deservedly so. Indiana I still think played an incredible game through and through, like
Oh,
just to keep
absolutely.
it close. And obviously that contradicts some of my regression stuff earlier with the bench, but like Toppin was impactful. It just wasn't enough to win the game. I mean, it's as simple as that sometimes.
Yeah.
By the way, my whole point about the finals MVP thing is that's now a 3-year joke at this point to be like, okay, who are we proverbially crowning as the, hey, if Shea like disappeared tomorrow and didn't accept the award, who are we giving it to?
Right.
Jalen's had a strong argument now. And obviously, again, we may or may not have a very recent history example of how that happens. So Jaylen Brown obviously has something Jason Tatum does not right now. I cut you off a couple times in the last couple minutes. Anything else about this before we kind of get it wrapped here?
I mean, again, congrats to us. We're going to get a game 6. Third time's a charm with that.
Oh, you're right. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the
Yeah.
5 was it. Yeah, no, you're right. It's not. Thank God.
Removing me patting myself on the back as a fan for not having a cardiac event during that. It feels so cliche to say the biggest game of the season coming up, but when you get to this stage and you get this close to a title, again, furthest they've been in franchise history, every single game is the most important game they've played in X years. None of the Pacers have the trio of ABA titles in the 70s, and that's great. 70 years later, 70, I can't do math. 55 years later, no one cares anymore. The acronym for the league is not the same. It wasn't the same entity. It's just they should be recognized as champions in that aspect. But one of these two teams is bringing home the first title, and it's going to decide a lot in the league because if the Thunder win, somebody in the West is going to overpay for Giannis or Durant or somebody to think, all right, if Indy can give them a shot, maybe we can too. If we do this, if Houston explodes their depth and realizes, hey, Reed Shepherd actually is on our team. And whether they throw him or Whitmore or both or Jalen Green or somebody in a trade, and they can, or maybe even get it out of the Van Vliet business, who knows?
So poll. Tell me about the Rockets really quick.
Mhm.
I'm only going to ask this now because I'm going to forget. If not, would you rather have Con Kneppel or Reed Shepherd right now?
Oh, jeez.
Saw his poll today. Shout out to Carl Hazard for that one.
Really I just think
I sat there. I was the first vote, but I sat there for a while before I hit a vote. I'll tell you mine after.
I just think with the added context of Reed Shepherd being in the shadow realm for an entire season, what that does to a young player's psyche and just mental fortitude of like, they brought me here with that pick to do this. I would almost say Knippel because I've seen the brashness, the confidence. I won't give him, ant level or anything, but he's got that thing to him that no one's going to tell him he's any worse than he thinks he is.
You could tell he has 4 other brothers that played sports as well.
And they must have beat the hell out of him because
yeah.
I
hit Reed Shepherd, by the way. I hit the Reed Shepherd button and I immediately had instant regret.
So. I would say Knippel only because Houston or any other teams not had the chance to ruin Knippel yet. I hope we see a lot more Reed Shepherd and a lot of Knippel in the upcoming season. But
if Knippel goes to Charlotte, they'll ruin him immediately. But
I mean, he'll play.
Will he?
Anyway. Is LaMelo playing 40 games? No.
Fair probably.
I mean, I think that just to wrap up where I was going with that, just
that's on me.
So many dominoes are predicated on the outcome of this series because it's either if we can get out of the East, we can win a title. Philly might do something insane to try and get back in it. Maybe the Celtics say, screw it, Cappy, we're going for this now.
Right this moment, by the way.
You have to be. It's irresponsible not to. Especially with an idiot holding the number 1 pick. Why not? I mean, what's that going to hurt? Worst he can say is, sure, take Cooper Flag for 3 and Paul George or something just asinine like that.
I had to think for a second what you said. Like I had to process the fact that
The
yeah.
number one pick in the draft has never been in worse hands, and this is arguably, and I won't add to the flag uh, pre-career accolades, but this is a big one. But I think if the Thunder win the title, someone in the West is going to overreact, and this still may happen. I may not get this right just based on the outcomes I lay out here, but if the Thunder win the title, the West is already a gauntlet. Someone's going to overreact. Someone's going to push chips in, arguably early, and they're going to say, if we can't beat this Thunder team, we can't beat a title. We have to do X. We have to do this. Or Pacers shock the world. They take 2 out of 3. They knock off the Thunder. The team in the East is thinking, well, if we can just get through the East, that team in the West is not guaranteed. We saw Minnesota, a vaunted team, get embarrassed in 5. This, to be frank, would be an embarrassing series loss for the Thunder. Denver was hurt, wounded, couldn't get it done. I thought they overperformed, honestly, relative to where they were health-wise and just personnel-wise, and they've got some work to do on their bench in the offseason, especially with Westbrook electing free agency. Say what you want about him, but he was a positive aspect of that team this year, and they have to replace him now. And they're not even – I mean, the NBA year has not even flipped yet. So I think that the Durant piece, the Giannis piece, the moving sands of the draft, a lot of that is still hinging on who can win 2 games with 2 or 3 chances at it and kind of set the expectation of next year, whether it's the upstart Pacers and the historic upset or it's the Thunder doing what everybody said they should do, albeit against Boston 6 months ago. So I'm very, very interested to see. I think there's chaos coming. I think this offseason, and we say it every year, and with the free agent pool being as shallow as it is, as things stand right now relative to past years, I think the trade markets, even with the hindrance of the aprons and all that garbage, I think we're in for an insane offseason, but there's still so much to be decided throughout the league as they lay eyes on these last 2 or 3 games and see who comes away with the title.
To your point about the West, I liken it to an HOA committee, right? Everyone's rooting for everyone until something bad happens. It's 1,000% with the West. The West is rooting for the good thing to happen right now. They're rooting for everyone to pay their dues on time and OKC to win the title. That's probably one of the best analogies I've ever pulled at 12:34 in the morning. But it's real. I mean, like the West wants the propaganda to continue for teams to kind of keep what they have and make. By the way, the West teams are going to make rash moves regardless of whether you win this title or not. I believe that, but I'm with you. It's DEFCON 4 if you don't win the title. The West season opening, Minnesota doesn't trade Gobert probably. Like there's other there's other things out there that just continue to domino and snowball, whatever word you want to use. I will ask the question because I've asked it every other game we've ever done this, and I didn't yet. What is India? Knowing this fact, I'll actually lay this out really quick. Neesmith's fouled out in the past 2 games.
Yeah.
And they've lost one of those games, right? They split those, which I think is interesting to think about. Not that you said it earlier, not that he's swinging a series immediately.
Right.
But what does Indiana have to do to win Game 5?
I really think they're going to need 30 from somebody, and it can't be a bench guy. It's going to have to be Siakam or it's going to have to be Halliburton. And Halliburton be the first to tell you, I want it to be Siakam. And so how that happens and what would need to precipitate that, I don't know. Because that level of just stubborn ball feeding, I mean, I'm looking at it, he took 15 shots. That was equal to Halliburton, and Toppin took his 12. They're going to have to either force the 2 big lineup off the floor again and just be frenetic with pressure again and force the turnovers and force the bad passes and force the young plays from the second youngest team to ever reach this stage. But I think it's not unfair to say that they were outplayed in 93 to 94 of the 96 minutes to open this series in Oklahoma City. They can't bank on game 1. They can't repeat game 2. And so they're going to have to find a different formula than we saw in Oklahoma City because obviously anything remotely close to game 3, they've got a fighting chance, because if they're within 15 points with 3 minutes left, you cannot let up. You can't do it. Lesser teams would empty the bench, try to go home and even it up. They will not do it. They will play the entire 48 minutes. I mean, again, they were plus 24 from the 3-point line. They would likely need something like that again. Do you bank on someone not
Still
maybe
only
not
30% though. 11, mate. Like that's the thing that's probably the key right there.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to send the Thunder to the line 38 times? Or, excuse me, for 38 free throws? Likely not. I don't think we see that again. And they're going to need, I think, another Halliburton shot. I think that is the only way they win a game in Oklahoma City. Whether it's 5, whether it's 7, it is going to take him doing the Halliburton zombie back from the dead thing. And that's not that they are incapable of outplaying Oklahoma City to the point they don't need that, but we haven't seen it in the 2 games so far, and I don't think we're going to see it at this point. At least not in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Siakam force feeding thing clearly isn't the option. But I mean, I really don't have an answer. That's the reason I ask. I think you at least laid out something that they can identify. That's why Rick Carlisle is one of the best coaches in the NBA. So he's going to figure it out. It's going to make Game 5 even more interesting. I want to give you a prediction, but then it's like, I mean, Halliburton's going to have to just be a superstar. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it just is what it is. All right. Wrapping up here shortly here, 12:39 Eastern. We did 56 minutes. Pretty expected at this point. Really, the way this game 4 went, I think that's fair. I'll ask you this on the way out. How'd your call with the Knicks go? Did you get a call about the head coaching position? I got one.
I went ahead and blocked Leon Rhodes' number, so I don't want any part of that. Some of the things I heard, Bill Simmons, I think, tongue in cheek. I mean, Mike Woodson, when is he going to call? Are we hours from that?
Oh, you're not. Hold on, though. You're not far off. There's a Mike that they're interviewing.
Oh, I saw Mike Brown and I saw Taylor Jenkins, and I think Taylor Jenkins. The Knicks don't deserve Taylor Jenkins, to be clear.
No.
Taylor Jenkins would be doing himself a disservice from coming out of the circus that was Memphis. I think unscathed, reputation-wise and resume-wise. I don't think he was the problem. You have a superstar who tends to see Memphis as a Grand Theft Auto map and thinks that his millions of dollars can just excuse him from acting like a normal person in society. And when that's your franchise player, you're not winning anything. And we've seen it many, many times before John Morant, and we will see it many, many times after John Morant. And obviously the coach is the much easier guy to blame and the much easier guy to remove from the equation. But I think they're going to come to the same sum with whoever the hell the coach is.
You have a better chance of getting over the hump with Jenkins, just straight up. I know
Absolutely.
Mike Brown has the experience. I'm like, I get that. I hear that. But like you get Mike Brown, you basically have Tom Thibodeau 2.0.
I don't think you can sell Mike Brown as the improvement that's going to win you a title.
No.
Nearly as well as you can if you bring in Jenkins. Now, it's a lie in both cases, but at least it's more believable with Jenkins.
After this year with Indiana, like you said, though.
You're selling season tickets with Jenkins.
They still think they can win a championship with Brunson right now. I mean, it's a real thought that is, if the Pacers can get to this point, the Knicks probably can too with Brunson if they stay fully healthy and they don't have Thibodeau.
You could argue they should have. You could, I mean, with game 1, how that went with them, you could, I mean, what was the exact thing I pitched you like 4 months ago if we got bored this summer? Was like the list of guys that could be the best guy on a championship team. That was a text a while ago. And
just like who's the worst guy that could be the number one?
Right. How many guys can be the number one option on a championship team? And I think my opinion of Brunson is one of the few that actually changed. Because this playoff run, as close as they got, and the makeup of the East right now, which you have to take into account, I think he's above that Mendoza line now. Now, can he do it with Towns on the court with him? We'll see. But that's just random memory there of me.
Not that I
getting
want
bored
to
one day.
right now, but now I'm really curious what I think, and I'm going to look it up while you're talking because I'm just looking up all NBA first team guys. Just
I mean,
curious.
I scratched out a list of like 25 to 30 guys, like the ones,
Oh,
like
I
in
remember
my
this
eyes,
stuff.
the
I
best
remember.
player on each team, and like, okay, who can win a title as the guy? That
I
list is
1,000%
much
remember
shorter
this.
than my own list was much shorter than I expected, to be honest. And some guys like a Wembanyama or impending a flag. The answer is going to change by default as they grow and flourish into what they're built to be. But guys like Brunson or a Trey Young or going down the rungs here, a Zion or a Ja Morant, like it gets really, really murky really quickly. And it's that much more impressive, the level of parity we've had in the NBA given that, because you really look at it, it's not a long list at all.
Let's just do it now. Let's just do it.
All right, let's do it. Yeah.
Giannis, Shea, Jokic, Mitchell, Şengün, Siakam. Any arguments? Well, yeah,
Şengün.
obviously. I'm just reading All-Star Game rosters.
Oh.
To be fair, I'll stop. Let me do this. Giannis, Shea, Jokic, Mitchell. Any arguments?
No, none.
Mitchell's still on there right now.
I don't think he's on the top half of the list, but I think he's on there.
This is guys number ones to win a title.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to come back to Mitchell.
Right.
Şengün, no.
No.
Well, I mean, and like he's the best player in Houston, which is the interesting thought.
Which is why they're not playing anymore. But yeah,
fair. Siakam, we know is a no because we are watching the fact that Tyrese Haliburton is technically the best player and the reason they're here.
Right.
It's no offense to Siakam, who I think has been incredible.
Sure.
Cat, no. Victor Wembanyama. Are we talking right now? Right, like this is not 5 years from now, right? Like right now.
Even then,
implies that you think they can win a championship next season. Technically, is what that implies.
The condition he had that put him out is so serious for his own life. Forget basketball, forget anything.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that, so I'm glad you reminded me of that.
Blood clots you cannot mess with that. It ended Chris Bosh's career.
There it is.
Damian Lillard missed time. You cannot play with your life like that. Assuming Wembanyama returns to where he left off, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
They're closer to making a finals, much less winning one, than they are to not making the playoffs. So I'm just gonna put that out there now. Trey, no. Brunson is the whole reason we're having this conversation.
I say yes. I don't say yes 2 months ago. I say yes now.
Cade.
No.
Again, implying right now. That's the big kicker. Ant.
No. Can I trade him to the East?
No, I'm answering no, and you asked me this question in 18 months. I'm saying yes. I think it's that simple.
I've got to say no right now.
That they've proven 2 years in a row they can't win a championship with him as the number one guy. It is what it is. I'm with you on these, though. It's so right.
He's the best player we'll say no to, but yeah.
Garland, Hero, Jackson, Mobley, Jalen.
No, those are just Either they're not ones or they're not doing it.
Jalen, that was Williams. Jalen Brown is the next one.
Right.
So yes to him. No to him. No.
Jalen
Brown.
I mean, next year, hell no. But I mean, he has been a Finals MVP.
He's technically been the best player on the championship.
I think so.
He's technically been one. If you really think
about it.
I'll
plant the flag. I'll say yeah.
Steph at this current moment.
No.
All right. AD.
No.
That's a career what if I'd like to talk more about in the future. By the way, just full transparency.
I blame Steve Naismith for my opinion of him. No.
I blame the fact that I blame the fact that he played for the Pelicans for 7 years. Kevin Durant.
No.
James Harden.
They can't make the damn playoffs. Forget championship.
Harden.
No.
People had the Clippers as like a sleeper this year, and the fact,
I did.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Because
I
of
guess
Kawhi,
that would
but not
imply
him.
Kawhi. So I guess Kawhi, he's not an All-Star this year. Kawhi,
No.
Kyrie,
No.
LeBron. The fact that we're having this conversation at 42 years old is ludicrous. By the way, 41 years old, whatever he is.
My brain can't let me say no, but the answer is no,
Yeah,
which
the
is
answer is
sad on so many levels for so many reasons. But the
It
fact
makes
that
me
you
really
mentioned
weird,
his
by the way.
name is, yeah. So I want to go no.
I'm going to go no as well because of the sheer fact that he's over the age of 40.
Come on, yeah.
Then again, same argument, same type of thing. Brady won a Super Bowl at 40, whatever, in Tampa Bay. So
Yeah, but he was like
literally,
the seventh best player.
fair. Dame.
No,
The question with Dame would be, has he ever been?
I would say no. That stupid 3-pointer aside.
It's interesting to think about. Last guy, which is actually kind of funny that this worked out this way. Jason Tatum.
I think
Technically,
yes.
okay.
I think yes.
All right. I was trying to, give you a
You
fun
can
little
hate
workaround there.
Jason Tatum with every fiber of your being.
To be
You
clear, I
cannot-
don't. To be
Right.
clear, I don't. Okay.
As a committed Lakers fan, you still don't. I respect that.
I
You
was playing devil's
cannot.
advocate if I could.
The biggest knock on him is that he's a 1B to Jaylen Brown. That is as far as you can possibly go with that. I don't even necessarily
I still
subscribe
think
to
that
that.
was a one season thing. Yeah, I still think that was a one season thing. But sure.
I think the Mavericks were so outmatched and overwhelmed. I think it opened the door for one, there was only 5 data points to go off of. And two, I think if there had been, anything aside from a traffic cone looking across the court from them, that we may have seen greatness brought out of Jason Tatum in a situation where they needed him to win that series. I think, honest to God, he could have sat out the series with COVID and they still would have won in 6 games, but that's neither here nor there. I think I've seen enough in Jason Tatum, finals MVP missing from his mantle aside to think that he could be the best player on a team. And I really, really hope that we get him back in 12 to 14 months at that level and can see that come to fruition. Because the Celtics, as currently constructed, are dead, but the idea of the Celtics as a title contender is far from that. And I really hope that he can come back and resume where they left off.
Actually, as crazy and as kind of morbid as this sounds, I think that injury actually gave the Celtics some wiggle room to figure some stuff out.
Well, they have the excuse now.
Yep. Well, it gave him time. Like just straight up, it just gave him time.
They have an entire year to, yeah.
All right. I'll play a fun game to end to keep this one going. Who did we leave off your memory? Who did we leave off? I just went off the All-Star game. Remember, I just went off this year's All-Star game. Anybody that I know you've sent me the scratch thing a couple months ago, but like it.
I mean, and I would have to revise that, honestly.
But who is there anybody off of memory that I'm going to go through the list. I'm just curious if your memory is good.
I mean, we didn't mention. I'm trying to think the best team we didn't talk about that would have had a best guy.
Well, clearly, we're missing one very obvious third best player in the world, but neither here nor there. Yeah, he's just fat and plays in the biggest market in the world. But.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah,
yeah. Is he a number one on a championship team? I'd say so. Yeah, he led a corpse of a Dallas team at one point in the season last year to a finals. So,
first take needs to end. I sent that picture today.
Dumb.
That needs to end.
There's really only 2 more guys left, I think, worth even having a conversation about.
Well, Luke is a yes, and I'll hear out the other ones.
Devin Booker. Was he the best player in that series? Is the real question. Because they were up 2-0.
No, I think Giannis was the best player in that series.
Sorry, on his team.
Sorry. Oh, yeah, certainly.
Yeah,
okay. You could argue impact him versus Chris Paul, but he was the best player in that series.
Okay, I agree.
I want to believe it so badly, but he will never, ever have the chance to show it again. Ever.
Sucks. Yeah.
In Phoenix. He will never, unless Matt Ishbia is in federal prison or passes away, there is no chance that he will ever get that chance again. and a lot of guys never get a chance. I hate that he had the one chance and got halfway there and couldn't do it. But as a player, I think no.
Currently, I mean, obviously you're taking
Yeah.
into account the team part a lot, but I mean, it's part
Right.
of it, which sucks.
I think no, but he's right there in that like cut line, honorable mention section, whatever you want to call that, like next grouping off of this. With Ant, with Cade, guys like that, where you really, really want to root for it and want to see it so badly, but you can't bring yourself to actually say that they're in the same grouping as guys we've been easy yeses on.
We didn't technically mention Halliburton, but let's just go ahead and assume that the fact that
Yes,
we got them on a doorstep. Yeah, I figured that. The last guy I had a thought about, Paolo. Obviously, currently the answer is no, but it's.
I mean, if I could see that team score 100 points 30 times in a season, I would think about it. But
that's a guy we're having a real conversation about in 5 years. Very similar Cade arc. Like Cade, now we're like Cade's closer to yes than no after this season.
Right, and the conference dominance is cyclical and it changes, and we've always thought, oh, the East with LeBron will win a championship the next 10 years, and it switches over to the Warriors, and then now we're back to parity, and it's kind of ping ponging back and forth here lately.
I think, by the way, this parity sticks for quite some time.
I hope so. After the Thunder win 3 in a row, but after that, sure, at parity. I don't care.
I think this year officially, because it's two teams that never won a title, if I remember correctly, this is 7 years in a row now with a unique champion, and
at least, yeah,
that's the first time in league history, I believe.
Yeah,
so
I think it is.
There's your. I think this parity is continuing. There's your data to back that up.
Right.
So, all right, all jokes aside about the Knicks thing, I think it's a great hypothetical we threw out at the end. Unplanned, worked out perfect. Even if we're over an hour at this point. But yeah, it's late. I'm going to try to get this out as soon as humanly possible tonight. So folks can wake up on Saturday morning, do their fun Saturday morning activities that don't involve basketball at this point, which really sucks. But we have a game. We got game 5 on Monday. It's going to be really great. I'm sure that crowd is going to be nothing short of incredible. And look, whatever happens Monday and whatever time we record, whether that's Monday evening or Tuesday morning, or Tuesday afternoon, evening, I don't care. Just know that this team's been incredible, and obviously the series won't be over at that point. So all is still well until the clock hits 0 at the very, very, very end. So appreciate your time as always, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Grayson stuff will be in the description below, and a couple more of these. And hey, I'm just glad we're getting more than 5 of them. So pretty dope. We're gonna hit more than 15, which is incredible. But look, this has been really fun. Series has been really fun doing this. I appreciate your time as always. This has been the 2 Pointers podcast. On behalf of Grayson, we will see you on Monday night.